Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at jonnydelsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Yes, the shocked squirrel. Can't wait. Joining in with Technic Chick. We definitely agree. Cannot wait for the NFL season. Lots to go over. Remember, if you are catching us on YouTube later and you find yourself frustrated, you may not have hit that notification bell. Da, 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 da. So make sure you hit that, because we love having you guys in the chat. We love having Mikey Gutierrez. We love having Hugo, Dr. Steve, all you guys. Thank you for making the algorithm go nuts. See what I did there with the squirrel, the nut thing. And here's what I'll say. We're going to get into this, Johnny. We're going to get into BA. And here's what I had been thinking of. High school provided all kinds of different memories for many of us. And what I equate it to is the guy who was in homecoming court, who maybe didn't win, but he's dating a girl and everyone knows that they're together. It's not a secret. They posted it on Facebook. They're together. What's up, bro, Montana? And he is posting a picture on Instagram of another girl saying, good luck today in the basketball game. And then you can see on Instagram that he's liked 110 of her pictures. And he doesn't even go through and like a lot of his own girlfriend's stuff. And at a certain point, even teachers notice, and they're like, this is a little, it's unbecoming of the kid who does that. Like, what are you doing? Now, take this to the Washington Commanders and Brandon Aiyuk and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that this is not the exact same thing. Go ahead, chat. Go ahead, Johnny. Tell me I'm wrong.
Sorry, I was actually focusing on what Wu had said here about cover one funnel. I'm not gonna lie.
The whys and hows. Because we go over the whys and hows. So he was like, Woo.
Yeah, he got me totally like squirrel sidetracked.
The squirrel is the theme.
I have to be honest. Woo, cover one funnel is not a pattern match type coverage. What it is it's a way to handle two backs in the backfield. So if you have two backs in the backfield that are split, that can go either side, either out, you have a lot of potential for picks and linebackers having to cover guys crossing the formations. So it gives you kind of like a back out and then an ability to play kind of like a zone matching over the backs. But as far as when we talk like pattern match, if you're meaning like something like a banjo coverage, which is how you play like bunch sets and things, that is different than necessarily cover one funnel, because funnel is going to have, you're going to have a single deep safety that your outside guys are still going to end up playing outside leverage to push things towards their inside help. The difference is where normally cover one, you would have a lurking underneath linebacker. He's not lurking on anything really short underneath. He's lurking on it's really a way that he's going to take the first in off of the tight end and running back on the same side. And then you're going to have the other side and then a middle help. So it's kind of like a zone match that you have over the tight end and running back, not as much a pattern matching. A quick answer to that question there. Love some wise and how's the game. So what was your question there, Adam?
So yes, I love that, and I love to poke fun at you. Reminder of Almost Famous. I love Jason Lee in that movie. The tour bus is taking off like without him, and he's like,
Right,
"Oh, don't
right.
forget about me. I'm only the freaking lead
I'm
singer."
only the lead singer. I
Yeah,
love that movie.
such a great movie, right? Like,
My dad was a huge classic rock fan, and
oh
he
yeah,
was like a total 60s, 70s rock guy. He toured with a rock band during that time. None of the ones that y'all have heard of. They were Almost Famous, so it was very much like what he what was experienced there in the movie. But no, it's a great movie, and yeah, it's a situation where the tour bus is kind of taking off, and
he's like, "Wait," it's like, "Oh,
yeah.
don't mind me." So I was joking, but I was gonna get Dawn to make you listen to me. Like, what's provide some tips, Dawn, the lovely, beautiful Dawn Dell. So
She if she knew some better ones, she would give you some. I totally even forgot to tell her that I was doing a show this morning, so she found out about.
found out because she has her notification bell on, probably.
No, I just didn't come back from dropping my daughter off at daycare. So she knew when
So she knew
when I never got back home, she was like, "Are you doing a show this morning?" Yeah.
you either got in a car accident or you're doing the show. But yes, we know every Monday you're usually doing the show. So we love to have you here, obviously. And the question was that if the kid is liking all the Instagram pictures from another girl and wishing her good
Right.
luck in the basketball game tonight, that is the same not so good look. It's unbecoming of him in
Unbecoming.
the same exact way of the Washington Commanders and our very own BA. That it's the same. It is the exact same thing. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I can't tell you you're wrong. So, I mean,
Yeah, because I'm not.
it is.
A bad
It's
look.
that.
It's terrible.
Well, if we go to maybe, our generation social media, Facebook, that you can easily see everybody who likes pictures. And when you see somebody who's married, dating somebody else, especially this time of year, people are posting a lot of pictures from the beach, and you start seeing somebody who's married or dating somebody is liking every picture that a girl posts of herself at the beach in beach attire, and that's it. That starts to raise some red flags. This makes you go, what's going on there? And social media is what it is, and we're starting to see that. Well, we have seen that, and it's getting to a really not good point with Brandon Aiyuk. Like, I'm starting to have some real questions here about what is his prime motivator, or what are his intentions with the 49ers. You sound like that dad who's sitting the young suitor down with for his daughter, and is going, "What are your intentions with my daughter?" I want to sit Brandon Aiyuk down and say, "What are your intentions with my 49ers, Brandon Aiyuk?" Because this does
That's a
not
good.
seem
That's good. I like that.
like a good path that you're going on. That this is just not good. I mean, there's respect for. I get it. Him and Jaden Daniels, they have a history there. They played together at Arizona State. Jaden Daniels was his quarterback when Brandon Aiyuk had a phenomenal season at Arizona State, and Jaden Daniels was a freshman there. But this is getting a little overboard. You have a quarterback who just took you to the Super Bowl, who set a franchise record for the 49ers in passing yards, and now you're starting to have wandering eyes to the Commanders and your former quarterback. That's not a good look. That's not a good look for team chemistry. That's
How's
not a good
Brock
look for.
Purdy? How's he supposed to feel? Like you're alienating your own teammates.
And I start feeling like not just Brock Purdy. I mean, I feel like Brock Purdy has a lot of confidence in the world, and he's gonna make throws no matter, whether it's Brandon Aiyuk out there, Debo Samuel out there, Ricky Pearsall out there, and maybe that's part of the issue. There is that Brandon Aiyuk feels that that Brock Purdy should have targeted him more. I've never met or never seen a top flight wide receiver in the league that didn't feel like they needed more targets. I
Right.
mean, that's just how every top wide receiver feels. Brandon Aiyuk, though, I think is getting into this different tier where it's really affecting what he wants out of money in contracts. It's affecting what kind of offense he truly does want to be played in so that he starts getting the name recognition, the brand recognition. Players now are more focused on their own brand than they've ever been. There's so many other lucrative contracts that come along with endorsement deals and now social media followings and things that there's a lot of money to be made and influence to be had outside of just the football field. Jerry Rice didn't have a TikTok with 3 million followers.
Right.
I mean, imagine what Jerry Rice, the kind of social media following he would have had in his prime if he was playing, and then the lucrative sponsorships that come along with that, the influence that comes along with that, the recognition that, I mean, already one of the most recognized athletes in the world now is even more so. And Brandon Aiyuk is, I think, it starts to feel like he feels like he's kind of second fiddle in the league, and he doesn't want that. He wants to be something more. He wants to be Stephon Diggs kind of recognition. He wants that I am a clear number one receiver in this league. I'm a Jamar Chase. I think he wants that. And this is starting to feel like wandering eyes that starts to be a little unfaithful. And you wonder, is it an issue here with Brock Purdy? I have a hard time seeing that. I don't think you're going to end up at the Commanders and end up with a better quarterback. That's just not happening. I think he maybe thinks that in some way, or that offense provides him more opportunities. But Aiyuk, do you want to win a Super Bowl or do you want to get more catches?
So
Which is it?
here's the argument, because we're gonna tap you on the shoulder, because here's the argument. I like that Callie says
He's pushing back on us.
Yeah, a little bit. And here's the thing. And I was really worried when Debo did that. I'll be honest. I was, when I go back to that point. But Debo was not liking the picture of the other girl and wishing her good luck at the basketball game.
This is even going beyond that. This is sharing the pictures of the other girl. I mean, this is
right.
And so this kind of brings me.
Debo did not do that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, now Debo did scrub his social media. That's just been like a ploy at this point of like, you're dead to me right now until we come back together. This just starts feeling like, it's one thing to say I'm not going to have anything to do with the team as an organization. It's another thing when you're talking so highly about another team's quarterback on a podcast, and then you're now posting pictures of that quarterback in practice. This starts to look very differently. This starts to look less like I'm, talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. If we're going, 90s stuff here, which is kind of like what Debo was doing to the 49ers. This starts feeling less like I'm putting up the hand to the 49ers and more I'm putting my hand out to another team. And a very specific team, and not just one who's going to pay me, not just one who's going to make me feel better. I'm reaching out to a very specific team. That's where this feels different to me, and it feels different than Debo, just scrubbing his social media.
Right. It is a little different because Debo wasn't saying that, wow, boy, that quarterback in Buffalo, man, he could really sling it. Like, boy, Josh really gets the ball downfield, or showing pictures of Bills practice, or he was never
and talking
doing
about
that.
what he could do in the Bills offense.
Right. Right. Or when Kirk Cousins, man, that's that guy. I'd love to run some, some Z patterns on for the or well, yeah, just
Z
whatever. It's
pattern.
not. I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
Well, it starts. I mean, maybe it's just my 49ers PTSD coming in. It starts to feel like when Terrell Owens came out on after a Monday Night Football game and said, Tim Rattay can really, he pushes the ball down the field better because Tim Rattay threw a couple deep balls to Terrell Owens, and that caused so many issues for that team and Terrell and Jeff Garcia. That's just what this starts to feel like. Is that it's like you really have to start being careful when receivers who want more or want something more specific in their role start building up another quarterback. That's an issue there. And maybe it's maybe it's the oversensitive defensive homer side that says no, you love our quarterback, and that's who it is. And I get it. Look, him and Jaden Daniels had a great season. Brandon Aiyuk was just a decimal points away from 100 yards a game with Jaden Daniels in 2019 at Arizona State. He had 1,192 yards that season in 12 games. I mean, that's production that he's never had with the 49ers.
Right.
He had, I mean, if he had that this year, that's 1,700 yards. So there is, I get it. I get the attraction there, and that's his guy and everything. And I'm usually not the one to play the, receiver has as a quarterback, their quarterback sort of thing. That was going on when Trey Lance was here. There's a lot of people were talking about those things of, that Aiyuk, Aiyuk is a Trey Lance guy. And that kind of stuff. I didn't buy into a lot of that. I think receivers want the ball in their hands. They want targets. They think they're open every play. This just starts to feel like you're puffing this up. And it leads to another really tough question and something that I don't know how the league necessarily handles, because to me, this seems like a serious leak issue if you have a player sharing a practice picture from obviously from film of another team.
Right.
Now we don't know to the extent of what kind of information he's getting. If you haven't seen it, this is what it is. This is what Brandon Aiyuk shared on his TikTok. And this is a picture of Jaden Daniels at and the Commanders practice. This is obviously from a mini camp or their OTAs. That is very concerning to me in the sense that what business does a player who's currently under contract with a team in the same
Right.
conference have getting a hold of new offense install for a team, for a potential playoff opponent? That's a serious issue to me. I get players share stuff, but this seems, what I think about is the Patriots. They had the big Spygate scandal, right? It was before the Super Bowl. They were caught. It was found out years later they were caught having taped the Rams' walkthrough before the Super Bowl. And the Rams were the greatest show on turf, only scored 14 points in that Super Bowl. And the Patriots were docked, were fined big money. They were docked draft picks. Does this put the 49ers in a position where there can be some sort of repercussions coming out? Because this is a member of their organization, has access in some way. We don't know the extent of that access, but has some sort of access to practice footage of another team. That's a serious problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I know if I was on the Commanders coaching staff, I would be very unhappy right now.
Right. Like, hey, why is he showing this like for the whole world?
And why does he even have this in his hands?
Right. Yeah.
If
I
I'm the
guess that's first.
49ers, I'm very concerned about this.
Mm-hmm.
Who is sending him this? I mean, it's like the old thing. Players, playbooks used to be very, very, very confidential. Players would get them, and they did not leave the facility a lot of times. The only times they could take them away from the facility was if they were um, allowed to do so, and that was allowed by the organization. Every time a player was left an organization, they had to come in and turn in their playbook. Coaches, same thing. You come in and you turn in your playbook. They were very guarded over playbooks. Teams don't
Yeah.
share practice film. Yeah, there's the all 22 is there of in coaches film around the league of games, but their practice footage, they film all their practice footage just like the games do. They have the all 22 view, they have the end zone views. They review every practice like they do at the games. That's not shared around the league, and for good reason. There's a lot of things that teams are putting that have in there that are kept under wraps. They're keeping things that are going to be only for their divisional opponents. They're going to have things that are for week 1 that are specific, that are changes. This is a serious problem when you have somebody obviously has access to this, and you can see you can't really see it on your end, but you can see up at the top that this is 8 plays, that this is a sequence of 8 plays that he's watching.
That's crazy.
What business do you have watching another team's practice? That's not okay in any way. And playbooks now, are sent electronically. They're very rarely leaked anymore. The 49ers playbook did get leaked, but that was 1 year. And, I have a collection of a lot of playbooks. It's not like you can easily get your hands on these things. They're for a while, it was like up for bid. It was several $100s you could get a 49ers playbook. And now it's just been shared around enough to where you can pretty much get it anywhere. And Mike McDaniel's talked about that. And it's not as much, as much of an issue when it's like 2-3 years ago, because things do change. But when you're talking about practice from the current season, I wonder, is this intentional leaking? Is this something with Mayhew sending this over, or excuse me, Adam Peters sending this over? Is this Jaden Daniels sending it over? If that's Jaden Daniels sending this over, if I was with the Commanders, that's a huge red flag to me.
Yeah, that's your star quarterback.
But yeah, your star quarterback who you are building a new offense around. You have a new head coach. You don't send this crap to people. If it's a coach that's sending this, what business do you have? Is this tampering at this point? What business do you have sending a player from another team practice clips? If you're the 49ers, you've got to wonder, are we now going to get investigated by the league about this? This creates a huge headache that is really getting tiresome for me of this Aiyuk drama. I'm really getting over it. And like I said, this feels differently to me than Debo taking the team off or wearing another team's jersey. This really starts to feel like we're crossing a line here that is going to have big repercussions on the team that I don't know, what is the end result of this? I mean, are we going to sit here and believe that Kyle Shanahan, if he found out that Brandon Aiyuk is watching Commanders practice footage, is just going to be okay with that? That he's just supposed to be fine with that and say, yeah, well, look, I get it. You're upset about a contract. We'll give you more money now.
Yeah, he's hurting. Like, it's almost like you take $500,000 off the table every day that he's going to do something like that. Like, where he's going to lose out on 2 million because he's just doing stuff like that. That, like, dude, you like, it's one thing to scrape your social media and to get on a podcast and say, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And I know my worth. And like the guy that is wanting to sell his house in a bad area and saying, well, I know what I've got. Don't lowball me. Like, okay, that's one thing. But what he's doing is a whole nother thing. And that's what has us worried and frustrated. And it is July 8th. So there's not much else to talk about. This is overpoweringly the story. There's one thing that I want to ask you that Eric Saltzman asked earlier, regarding Johnny wanted to know. He was asking regarding Dre Greenlaw and what kind of impact will not having Greenlaw on the field for the defense. He's been thinking about this the past couple of days. He's worried a little. Help him have faith. Now, I mentioned in the chat he may not miss time because we had talked about that earlier I think it might have been either last episode or the one before. But I would love to have some positivity here and help Eric have some faith.
Now, I wish I could give him a little bit more faith as for our linebacker depth. We don't have an Aziz Al-Shire. I'm tripping over myself this morning. I just need a little more coffee. I'm not getting too old here. That we don't have an Aziz on the team right now, as far as we know. This is one of the things I'm most looking forward to during preseason. I hate the idea that the NFL is still trying to get rid of another preseason game. Look, I get it. You don't sell as many tickets. You don't have quite the ratings. But for people like me, and this is selfish, I look at it, and those 3 preseason games are huge, especially watching the coaches' film on it, of seeing and evaluating the depth on the team. And there's a number of guys that we're gotta see what happens. Bethune, who they drafted this year, is a complete question mark of what he's going to be in the NFL. We have Jalen Graham and we have D Winters. Those 3 guys, to me, one of those guys has got to elevate coming out of training camp and preseason, and we got to see who can be able to step in for Greenlaw when and if he does miss time. Even if he's ready for week 1, I'm not sure he's going to be 100%. We need a third linebacker, even, for 33% of our snaps. And Greenlaw has missed a lot of time over the years. He's most likely going to miss time this season. Somebody's going to have to step in. And so I'm really looking forward to that from preseason, of evaluating those 3 guys, where we're at and where they are when that comes around. The question that is coming up here too, that people are saying is, 49ers should pay Aiyuk. Now, Brandon says they obviously don't want to pay him $25 million. The reports are that he was, and what came out of Brandon Aiyuk's mouth was that the 49ers, and it was scary how accurate we were on this, right, Adam? Back in February, here's what I said. I said the 49ers want to pay him closer to 26. Brandon Aiyuk is going to be probably 27, 28 where he starts at, and they might end up, I said, they may even lowball him at 24, 25. And I remember the chat, people were like, there's no way Brandon Aiyuk's going to make that money. And I said, look, that's just looking at where the cap increased, because we had that show right after the cap, it was announced the cap was going up more than expected. And I said, expect Brandon Aiyuk's value is going to be 26 to 27 million a year. And that there was probably going to be, he was at 28, the 49ers were at 25, 24, and they would try and meet in the middle. What Brandon Aiyuk has said is that they were offering 25, 20, 26. He wanted 28. They were getting really close to a deal. And then Justin Jefferson's contract was announced. And so they were willing to pay him 25 plus a year. Is that now he probably wants 30 a year. He wants Tyreek Hill money. And so that's where they're not wanting to go. They're not wanting to increase it another 7-8%. They're wanting to stick where they are. And this is where the arguments about usage and the arguments about production and value in that just what we had talked about back in February are really becoming sticking points. And it becomes sticking points for the incentives. That Brandon Aiyuk is obviously saying, I think I can do 100 yards a game with Jaden Daniels in that offense, because they're going to throw the ball, because they got a quarterback they've invested in. They've got a quarterback that they believe can sling the ball around. They're not sitting here just going to run the ball 50% of the time. They're really looking to, be vertical and explosive in their pass game and with their quarterback. And that's what he's doing. Here's the problem that Brandon Aiyuk, and why this is not smart on his end. If you want that leverage, this is not how you get it. It's like, I a lot of times, my 4-year-old, she will, if I say no to her about stuff, she'll sit there and a lot of times start crying, or, as kids do, or just saying over and over again. And I'll stop her. I say, is this how you get what you want? Because I'm trying to remind her, This is not how that this is actually going to be how you don't get what you want, because I'm not going to reward this behavior. In that, I want to look at Brandon Aiyuk and say, is this how you get what you want? Because this isn't it. If you're saying, I want more money and I want more leverage, and if I don't get it with you, I will go get it with somebody else. You're backing yourself into, if you're the Panthers, for example, who will have a lot of money in free agency, who have draft picks, who could trade for you and give you a big contract, and they're wanting to put weapons around a young quarterback that they invested heavily in last year's draft. Are you going to trade for Brandon Aiyuk right now? No. He obviously wants to go to the Commanders. He's a headache with the 49ers. We're not bringing that into the building. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you have some money and you need a receiver to be paired with Russell Wilson, and the Steelers have been linked to the 49ers, right? This has been one of the reasons.
Right. Yep.
Are you now, you're looking at this situation, are you going to offer a high second round pick for this? Are you spending a high second round pick to absorb this headache where he's obviously wanting to go somewhere else? And now he's going to make you overpay because you're not the destination he wants? No. You are pushing potential suitors, which means more leverage, away. He's actually giving himself less leverage in this whole thing. And he's got to look at, this isn't about necessarily how you're going to, because you could end up costing yourself a lot more money than you think you're going to gain. If it's, say, a 5-year contract and he's looking at $2 million a year more, that's $10 million. Okay, so you're arguing this over $10 million. If you end up having to play this year on your 5th-year contract instead of the average per year that you're going to make on that 5-year contract, you're going to cost yourself $14 million. Was it really worth it?
Right.
You cost yourself $4 million. So what are you gaining here? And you may be less appealing to a free market. And so the Commanders your best offer may only come from the Commanders at $26 a year. I think this is a really not wise choice with the way he's handling this. And somebody said it in the chat earlier that I think they're right, is that you're really seeing a stark difference here in how Aiyuk is handling this negotiation and how John Lynch is conducting this this negotiation. Look, and again, we talked about Deebo Samuel and the things he did that was frustrating us. What Deebo Samuel wasn't doing was making very clear statements that I want to be somewhere else, and wasn't going on a podcast and talking about things. Now, I get it. He also said in that podcast, he was talking about how, Brock Purdy is a legit quarterback, and he does he see himself as a 49er? Yes. But these start to become like, dude, you have to be a little patient here, because you say that, and then 3 days later you come out and you post this. I just have a hard time with that.
Very, very hard time with that. Where it's very,
and I'll agree with Quiffleball here. It feels like he's backing himself into a franchise tag. It does. It really starts feeling like he doesn't realize it, but he's backing himself into a corner. And it's like I said, sit down with my daughter and say, this is not how you get what you want. The 49ers are not going to turn around and say, yes, this is how you get what you want. They're going to say, look, we get it. It's a business. You have to conduct yourself as a businessman.
Right. And since you're not, we're going to franchise tag you. And you know what? This could be the silver lining is no one will, there's something to be said about an aura over a franchise when they do something really silly, like the Trey Lance project. It just had a weird, bad thing aura about us. Well, this changes that if we franchise tag them, because who could fault us? There'll be no aura around the fans or the league in general saying, how could you do that to Brandon Aiyuk? You franchise tag him. No, that actually could be the silver lining that, when they do that, it's like, well, hey, come on. He backed himself into that. There's no other choice the Niners had. So then that could be a good thing is he plays out and then maybe moves on, you know. And I love the disagreements.
I
I'd
love it. I
rather,
love it.
yeah,
So remember, Debo didn't demand a trade. He requested a trade. That was, if you guys aren't going to pay me, then trade me somewhere else. But again, Debo wasn't saying trade me to the Buccaneers. You know, that because I want to go play with Baker. That wasn't what he was saying. He wasn't going off about that. He was saying, if you're not going to pay, it was very clearly, if you're not going to pay me, then send me somewhere where somebody will pay me. Somebody. It wasn't this, like, this just feels so pointed to me. And that's what I have a hard time with. It's very much, I think on that team, I can do something. Is it good for him or the 49ers with trade? You know, it's about the money. It's about more than the money. And that's my thing. Is it's not just about the money at this point. He wants to be used more. He wants to have more targets. He wants to be a bigger part of the offense. Now he's trying to leverage Kyle Shanahan. You have to use me in this way. Brock Purdy, you need to throw me the ball in these situations. That's where I start having some issues, is that this starts feeling like it's more than just money. It's he wants to be a bigger part of something. And that starts saying it's more about me and less about the team. But look, I mean, and you know, and I don't think Debo actually said he didn't want to play in San Francisco anymore. He just said, I'm willing to not play in San Francisco. And I want to go somewhere else. Like it was clearly about the money. That's what feels different with the Debo saga. It was just felt like it was only about money. This starts feeling like there's more to it. And then and the concern I have with that is that even if he gets the contract from the 49ers, if he doesn't get the targets he wants, is he going to be a disgruntled wide receiver that's yelling at his quarterback, that's getting frustrated at his quarterback on the sideline? We haven't seen that from Brandon Aiyuk so far, but he's also been on a rookie contract where he's had to prove himself. And they've told him, if you don't block, you don't get the rock. And if you do these things, you know, it just starts to feel like, is he sitting there saying, I've done the things that you told me I was supposed to do. Now give me my targets. And that starts feeling like, were you really bought into the team winning a Super Bowl, or are you bought into you'll only give what you will get back? And, you know, it just reminds me of when we sat down with Jesse Zapolo and he was talking about how the team came to him in a season, it was 94, and said, we need you to change positions. He was playing guard. They needed him to move over to center for injury. And he said, and he was number one in Pro Bowl voting that year for guard. And he said what it was going to end up doing was him changing positions was going to end up dropping him to last in Pro Bowl voting for the center. And he had a clause in his contract that if he made the Pro Bowl, he got $100,000 bonus. And so he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to move over to center. He could have said no. And he told us that they came to me, Bob McKittrick came to me and he said, we'd like you to move over to center. We think that's puts the best five out there. Are you willing to do that? Will you do that? We think if we do that, we will win a Super Bowl this year. And he said, I went, yeah, that's what we got to do to win a Super Bowl. Because that was the goal. He goes, I didn't want to sacrifice that money. And he ended up still being like sixth in Pro Bowl voting for center. But because it was only like, he said it was only like 5-6 games after, I don't remember the exact particulars of that year. Somebody better on Niners history can let me know of when he moved. He still ended up near the top, but what didn't get enough to be a Pro Bowl vote. He was a Pro Bowl quality player, absolutely, that year. Didn't make the Pro Bowl because they moved him positions, but he did it for the sake of the team. That is and he talked about, he goes, if you want to win a Super Bowl, everybody on that team has to buy in at that level. Everybody does. Steve Young has talked about that. Jerry Rice said, that was, and Jesse also talked about that was the biggest issue that it felt like between Dion and Jerry in that Super Bowl year, was that they were trying to get him to say, this is not about you. This is about the team. And this really just starts to feel like this is about you with Ayuk. And so, and the way he was talking and everything, that's where I'm frustrated of like, I worry about, even if you get the money now, what is this going to be like for the next couple of years when the team goes on a 3-game losing streak like they had last year?
Yeah.
What are we going to hear? What are you going to have on your social media? What's the attitude in the locker room going to be like? If it's going to be like, well, if you guys threw me the ball more, we wouldn't be losing these games. We
That
saw
is
the ripple effect that was having on the Eagles last year. That was happening with the Eagles with AJ Brown and everything that was going on there, and you could feel it was not good, and they were having serious issues down the stretch last season. It really does affect things. That's what my concern is. I'm not saying it is going to be that way. That's just everything I'm seeing over the last week has just really inflamed a lot of that.
big time. And we're gonna go through and see maybe what do you think it looks like playing his under his fifth year, what that looks for us as we try to win a Super Bowl. Before I ask you about that, Johnny, I want to remind everyone another couple good news items is remember that you can always find good news at JFA dot for or sorry, not dot JFA49.com. And the route trees are the biggest thing that I love taking a look at. So if you have not checked out the website, JFA49.com, make sure you head over there after we are done talking all things Niners as well. Some more cool things. If you are going to be next month in the Nashville area and you're going to head to that preseason game, make sure you email us and let me know because I will be there. And so I will be at our first preseason game. And then if you are planning on going on Monday Night Football, I thought of how the guys Al and Dan and Frank used to give that intro to Monday Night Football. That's Monday Night Football to me is those three, by the way. That's Monday Night Football. But I will be there to see Aaron Rodgers lose miserably to our beloved Niners on Monday Night Football. So if you are around for any of those games, please let me know because I want to hang out and talk. And I'm going to bring my lavalier mics. Let's get some content and interviews and talk and just love everyone. ELE, everyone love everyone. And then the other thing is you can kind of see my banner here. Sports Idiot Nation is starting August 1st. And so that is going to be a podcast that is every Monday and Thursday. You can get it where you grab your podcast and follow Sports Idiot Nation on YouTube, and you can watch on YouTube as well, where I won't cover just Niners. It'll be everything, all sports. We'll go over pop culture. We'll talk about the Wolverine and Deadpool movie, things like that. So RTPFTW, dude, you gotta change your name. Just that's too many letters. Okay,
I'm
hit
trying to
hit
figure
us
out what
up.
RTP is. It's
I
something
know.
RTP for the help me out here. What is RTP?
Yeah.
I'm feel super old now, maybe.
And FTW, that's the city I live in Indiana, Fort Wayne. So I'm like having a weird and I
I
know
thought
it's
it
not
was for
that.
the win.
Well, I think so, but what I see because I live in this city, when I see FTW, I think Fort Wayne.
We have
But
taken a left turn when we're trying to guess what
yes, we're
acronyms people's
yeah,
names mean in the chat.
and I'll find out because I'm going to meet them. It sounds like so we definitely need to link and grab a drink and a dub, as they say. So, yeah, a lot of stuff there. Again, make sure you check out the website as well as I got another fun little story. I was at our farmers market here. Raise the people for
Raise
the
the
win.
people for the win.
Love it.
Got
Power
it.
to the people.
Okay.
I love it,
Okay.
man. Okay.
See,
So
I wouldn't have got that. That wasn't
yeah,
like a pop culture thing I was missing. So now I don't feel as bad.
yeah, for sure. I love that name. That's awesome. And we will link. So very cool. I got a cool story to share. This weekend, I was at the farmers market and there was a random dude wearing a San Francisco Giants hat. And I walked right up to him and said, dude, are you a Giants fan? He's like, yep, I live in Modesto and I'm here visiting my kids. I was like, Niners too? And he said, yep, you guys know what I did. I took out my phone and said, "Dude, do you have your phone?" He's like, that first 10 seconds is always awkward because he's like, "What? Are you gonna call me?" Like, no, no, but he goes, "Oh yeah, okay." So he pulled up his phone, Johnny Dell Football Academy. I love some of the thumbnails. It shows that the X's and O's and the lines across the field and all that are on a lot of the thumbnails. So you can see as you're scrolling without even hitting the video, and you can describe the channel. And so he was like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." And I said, "Oh man, you ain't seen nothing. Just go to the website, check out these YouTube videos, and then you can obviously check out the podcast where I'm actually hosting it." He's like, "No way, 22,000 subscribers." I'm like, "Who do you think I is?" Like it was me. Don't worry, I gave Johnny the credit.
The funniest thing is you trying to sound like you got street cred with that.
I know, right? But he was very excited, and I was very happy to grab, hopefully, probably another subscriber to the channel. But those are the types of things that you guys can be doing. Is just when you see someone wearing Niners gear, just go up to and be like, "Oh, hey, check this out," and it's a great conversation starter. So okay. Anyway, the question that we wanted to get into was, we're done talking of the BA stuff, like the contract stuff, whatever. Let's assume now and do Fantasyland. If he's under the 5th year, do we have a realistic shot then still at winning this thing?
Well, I think, hopefully you have some Ayuk insurance there with Ricky Pearsall. And even if you have Ayuk who is disgruntled, he then has to prove that he will perform even when he's not necessarily happy with the money that he's being paid, and that he is truly a top right receiver, where he would then be looking at playing for 36 million a year. And so I think even worst case scenario, he's on a 5th-year option. I do believe that the 49ers, the team, is good enough that they can win a Super Bowl. They were, an overtime away this last year, and there's no reason to think, outside of a slew of injuries, that they can't do the same thing. I have more concerns about the offensive line than I do about offensive production from skill players at this point. So, and I think if the defense can get to a point where they're a championship caliber defense again, then that will absolve a lot of these issues. And, winning a Super Bowl, it's a good deodorant.
That's a good way. That's a good way to say it. I thought Old Spice was a good deodorant. We don't get paid by them, but I do use them, so there's that. But yes, winning heals all transgressions, or what heals all. I don't know. Covers a multitude of. I don't know. You guys know. I just host the show. I don't know anything. Uh, so yeah, the Ricky Pearsall, I think, is the huge factor, and we love seeing the highlight videos of him, like his feet just like. I love the videos of guys running when, no matter how much you edit the video, you really can't see his feet. They're moving that fast. It's like a blur. It's like, ooh, that makes me happy, when they're moving that quick. So love to see it. Speaking of, we were talking about the new show that I got going. Speaking of shows and that kind of thing, some we were talking before the show. Short form content, huh, seems to be the way of the world now. The Around the NFL, like in the chat, what's a easy something? Just put NFL. If you were a fan of Around the NFL, type in NFL. I'm curious. I didn't watch it all the or grab it all the time, but it was definitely familiar with it, and it's going away.
Yeah, I think this was something that shocked a lot of people. Greg Rosenthal tweeted out. It was kind of, and I think it was that it came out of nowhere. Is that the show had just kind of been on hiatus, and everyone thought it was just they were taking like a summer break before the season really got going. And Around the NFL, I think, has been one of the most influential shows for NFL media, because it really proved that you could have an NFL only podcast, and it was successful for 11 years. That, I
Yeah.
mean, this was going back to the Harbaugh era that they had it. And so they had that podcast on over 1,600 episodes. That's a lot of shows. That's a lot of episodes they were going. Now they always had more long form content. They would talk about everything with the NFL, and suddenly then they went on hiatus. Nobody knew what was going on, and then Greg Rosenthal tweets out that they're done. It's just off the air. He's thankful for the 11 years and over 1,600 episodes that they had. There's going to be new things coming in the future. And then literally hours later, this is to me just a totally botched way of handling this.
Yeah.
Hours later, the NFL announces that Greg Rosenthal, without the other guys, is launching a new shorter show that's NFL Daily. That's going to be 5 times a week, and it's going to give you quick snippets of, up to date early news. They're making like the morning news show, like a lot of different
Good Morning Football, or
well, not even Good Morning Football. Good Morning Football is a long form show. It makes you concerned about what's going to happen with Good Morning Football, because they went from, we're going to have an hour and a half long podcast. Now it's probably going to be 15 to 20 minutes. I would assume half hour minute maximum is what this is most likely going to be. If you're going 5 times a week in the morning, it reminds me, like New York Times has a morning podcast that a lot of people listen to. That's just 15 minutes or so of the daily news. A lot of different news organizations have short daily podcasts that they do in the mornings. That's what this feels like that the NFL is moving towards. And the concern with that is are they trying to then kind of put the nail in the long form content from a larger platform? And it's just kind of almost shocking when you see a show that has such a deep grounding and deep fan base and has such a following to just be scrapped with, almost overnight. Just they didn't say, hey, the show's ending in a month, here's our last month of shows. They didn't do that. It's just they went on hiatus and now they're gone. Good Morning Football has been on hiatus for a while as they're moving from New York to LA, supposedly to be cheaper. I'm not sure how LA is actually cheaper than New York, but whatever. What's going to be happening there? This really starts to feel like there's been rumors and buzz that the NFL is trying to sell NFL Network and their media properties to ABC, Disney, ESPN.
Johnny, breaking news.
Well, I mean, that's been some of the rumors on there. I'm not saying that it's breaking news. I'm just saying that's the rumors. And that concerns me as somebody in this, in one sense of like, I personally, I have stopped watching ESPN. I don't see anything real value there outside of the actual sports that they show.
Right. Same.
Like there's Monday Night Football on. I watch Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
But all their commentary shows, I don't know. And it just makes me at moments like this very thankful for our supporters and the members of JFA49.com that support this channel, because we don't answer to a big media corporation who's maybe even scrapping the show to shove losses in there. If you don't know how, mergers like this happen or sales like this happen, that there's a lot of times what they call an EBITDA, which they're trying to get that's earnings before taxes and depreciation, that they that sometimes they're trying to get an EBITDA down, and so they're dropping assets, they're dropping contracts with people just to try and get the valuation at a certain point because there's financial stakes involved. And we don't answer to that. We don't answer to this. Says that our demographic 55 to 65 says that they really want to hear people arguing on this side, or even 35 to 50 want to hear this. We talk about the 49ers. We are who we are, and you support us for that, and we thank you for that. It allows us to do what we do, that we don't have to reach out to a company and say, hey, can we have a partnership here where you're supporting us to do this, but then we are beholden to them, not beholden to anybody. And we're thankful for that. And we're thankful for you as supporters who tune in, who have, come alongside and partnered with the content we have and what we do during the season 2 and during this off season, that we're able to go, like, Adam's coming with me next year. We're going to go to the Senior Bowl together and do that. We're able to do those things because you guys partner with us, and we thank you so much for that. That you don't have to do that, and we appreciate that so much, because moments like this, it shakes up some content creators, because you start going, man. Because every time, you maybe get whispers, or there's this flirting that happens, and somebody reaches out and says, hey, I'm part of this network. Would you maybe want to join it? It starts to, there's that allure, there's that draw that says, maybe there can be more there. But then you see what happens with a show like this, and you go, yeah, no, because those guys can't go and say, well, we're going to take around the NFL, independent. They can't do that. They don't own the rights to it. They can't do that. The NFL is not going to allow them to do that. So, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate what you do, and allowing us to stay independent, and all the other content creators that are allowed through everyone's support to stay independent. It really, it just is a reminder of the value and the necessity for independent content creators in this space.
Yeah, and that's why we love doing this, and why we say hit the notification bell, like and subscribe, show people, because we love hanging out. We love, people want to work with who they know, like, and trust. And you know us, you like us, and you trust us. And that's why, and it didn't just happen in 5 seconds either. Like, Johnny has built this channel, and then I have come alongside that and helped as far as the podcast. But it didn't just happen overnight. It's built over time. And this is why we love, and we just simply want it to grow, guys. That's really what we're going for, is whatever the amount is, the 22.3 thousand subscribers now, then okay, why not double it? If every single person here showed their phone to one other person, what are we talking about? I mean, that already right there, So love the support, and love on hiatus myself after the third Super Bowl loss, mainly because of a super busy semester. But so us, yep, John Chapman and David Lombardi. Yep. My mom likes David Lombardi over me. She loves David Lombardi, and we love John
Wow.
Chapman.
Which we are having John and Wayne on a week from today. We were doing a series. We were going back through 49ers drafts and grading them. Grading them now, several seasons removed. We're coming up on a couple really more recent drafts that have been more controversial, but we're going to finish that series a week from today. Next Monday, a Friday, I'm trying to fill up the rest of the month with some special guests. We need to bring some people on that we haven't seen their faces in a little while. So we're going to have a surprise guest on Friday. I'm not announcing it yet, mainly because I've also got to make sure that they're actually going to be there. But yeah, we're looking at that. Some more guests coming on, and we appreciate you guys with everything. And Adam, like you said, just appreciative of the community, and appreciative of everyone, and allowing us to do this, and talk and grow and do what we can. When you were saying, if every person tells one person, it reminded me of, there was that old commercial back in the early 90s, and it was kind of spoofed on Wayne's World 2, where he's like, if you tell one person and they tell one person and they tell one person, and the camera multiplies their picture everywhere. That's what it reminded me of. I'm like, Adam's pulling that maneuver. If you tell one person and they tell one person and they tell one person.
Yeah, we got to grow this thing. You guys that are live with us in the chat week in and week out, you know how awesome the content is, from us bantering with you to the content that Johnny puts up on film. You guys know it's not that much of a stretch. I'm not selling cigarettes to babies. I'm selling you us, the community. Like, it's good. That's why I love, like, I'm really not that good of a salesman. It makes me feel icky. I don't like it. So I only push things that I truly believe in. So I want you to go to Sports Idiot Nation on all different accounts, on Twitter, on Facebook, go to the YouTube page. I want you to do that because I believe in it. It's me, and me. I want you to go to
just
JFA
the
49.
selling cigarettes to babies just it wrecked me. I was done at that point. I couldn't.
Well,
couldn't
I'm just
handle.
saying we're not doing that. I will never do that. And
Well,
so
thank
anything that I
God.
push, anything that I push like PB brand systems, I'm going to push that
I
because I
love how
know
you
those
always say
guys.
PB brand systems because PB stands for power brand. Um,
Oh,
I'm
so
just
it's
giving you a
PB
hard time. Yeah, yeah,
systems.
it's PB systems
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
power brand systems.
Yes. Power brand
Yeah, it's
systems.
power
They
brand systems.
they set up the website, and if you need help with your funnel and websites and stuff like that, be sure to hit them up. But again, I believe in them. I don't just say to do that because they pay us money. That's not how it works. Like, I truly believe in it, and so anything that I'm going to say, I want to keep that trust factor, and Johnny's the same way. With where he buys his meat, he's not telling you to do it
True.
because oh, White Oak Pasture's like, okay, no, like he genuinely loves their stuff. And so you guys
I
that
just made an order
have
last night.
yep, and you
Yeah,
guys that have done an order, you've come back on here and said, oh my gosh, the meat was great. So the
which
things that we tell you to do, it's where we truly do it and believe in it.
Which it does remind me, if you want to go to whiteoakpastures.com/JD49 right now. And what I just ordered last night, they're doing a special buy 10 steaks, get 2 free. They have a 12-pack of
Oh,
ribeyes. It's
oh,
$200. So a 12-pack of ribeyes. These are grass-fed, grass-finished. They are 100% pasture raised, no growth hormones. They're down to, your normal cattle that you get in the grocery store has probably been treated with anywhere from 65 to 75 different antibiotics. That's anything from dewormers to antibiotics to treat infections. They're down to about 2, I think is what they said. They give their cows 2 different antibiotics, and they're trying to work on even removing those. So they use 98% less antibiotics than any other type of beef that you really get anywhere. And we know in the US about the overuse of antibiotics, that's causing antibiotic resistant bacterias. Well, we often think about that because people will go to the doctor when they have a cold, and the doctor will sometimes say, well, we're going to put you on a round of antibiotics so it doesn't turn into an infection. And we think of that as the overprescription of antibiotics. 82% of all antibiotics given out in our country are actually to livestock animals, that humans only represent 18% of the antibiotic usage in our country. And there's a huge financial incentive. Everybody knows about drug companies are very corrupt, that there's a very large financial incentive for drug companies to keep farming done this way, where it's there, because that is where the bulk of their antibiotic monies come from, and the production off of that. And so you can go to whiteoakpastures.com/JD49. It's high quality beef. My wife and I, we just celebrated our 12th year anniversary. I love my wife. She's beautiful. She's amazing. We got 3 beautiful kids. I'm so lucky to have her for 12 years now. And we went out
you
to
are.
a steakhouse. I'm very lucky. She puts up with me. And we went out to a steakhouse that's was about a 45 to 50-minute drive from us, that we'd heard from a lot of people is good steakhouse. It was a local place. This was not a chain. It's supposed to be really good. And I remember we went there and we both came away feeling rather meh. It was not a cheap dinner, but just felt like the quality of the beef was not good. And you guys know this. You've been going out to restaurants. You buy the beef in the supermarket. You can tell the quality of beef is not the level it used to be. And it's been so long that I've bought beef in a supermarket. I remember I was in the supermarket recently and was just surprised by how expensive a ribeye was. It's jumped price about 80% from what it was 5 years ago. So you're not going to be getting your beef cheap anywhere anymore. If you're going to be spending more, get something that is way better for you. That it's only fed grass and hay its entire life, outside of drinking milk off its mother. That grass was not treated with fertilizers, commercial fertilizers. It wasn't treated with pesticides. A lot of times, cows that you're eating have been fed grains and wheat and different things, and corn that were genetically engineered to be Roundup resistant. We've all seen the commercials, for if you have cancer and you were exposed to the active ingredient in Roundup, which is glyphosate. I used to work commercial landscaping. Glyphosate, they made glyphosate resistant corn, wheat, grain. So what they could do is they could carpet spray, blanket spray an entire field, kill the weeds, but the residue of that Roundup was left on the plants. It crystallizes on the plant. After 6 hours, glyphosate crystallizes on the plant surface, and then it doesn't wash off. You don't get it doesn't go off with the rain. It doesn't happen. If it was allowed to dry, it's on that plant, and then it gets sucked up in the combine, and then it's given to the cows, and the cows are ingesting Roundup, and then they pass that on to you. Well, these cows are never experienced that. It's all grass-fed, grass finished, which means it was never given grains. You do have to wet age your steaks a little bit longer because a grass-fed animal isn't quite as tender, but it has so much more flavor. I remember that was the thing. Is just I was looking for beef flavor for the 4th of July. Well, I barbecued a brisket for the family, and it was just so unbelievably good. There was so much beef flavor there. It was so good, and all I did was some rock salt and cracked pepper, and that was it. And smoke. I didn't have to put this special blend of seasonings. It didn't need that. The flavor is there. It's good for you. It's better for the land. It retains water better. There's less runoff. There's all these things. It regenerates the topsoil. We are running out of topsoil in around the world because of how we are, farming our land. whiteoakpastures.com/JD49, regenerative farming, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It's so much better for you. More antioxidants, more vitamins, everything. Once you go down that path, you really don't want to come back because you feel better. You're doing better. It tastes better. Now we'll say again, one of the lies that people will say is, they try and sell you on grass-fed beef so much they'll be like, it's the tastiest, most tender steak. It is not the most tender steak you've ever had. I'll be honest about that. It is not. Now if you wet age it, it does help it a lot more. You cook it right. It's good. But when you do those things, the flavor is just, there's more flavor there. It's got more beef flavor. You don't have to put all these weird seasonings on it and stuff. I'm not saying weird, but special seasonings. You can just use salt and pepper. And it's amazing. But like Adam said, I believe in it. I've told my friends about it. This isn't, I'm telling people about it, not even about going to my link. I mean, it's just just use it. Because you will feel better. You will know it's better. My wife is the same way. We've eaten out and, it's like RTP FTW says quality of eating out in general is down across the board. My wife and I were talking about that leaving the restaurant. We were like, what is going on? It's felt like, COVID killed the eating out industry and the, and everything. But yeah, I'm listening to this. So I'm not, okay. So boats, I'm not talking about this as everything. What I'm saying is, because I'm not directly sponsored by White Oak Pastures. I'm not. It's an affiliate link. So I do get a commission if somebody uses the link, but I'm not sponsored by them. They're not paying me to say this. They're not, they actually send me very, very little information. The biggest thing they've asked me to say is don't say organic. So when, they don't want me to say organic because organic becomes just a marketing statement, and it's being used as a blanket statement for things that are really not necessarily good for everything. What you have here is this White Oak Pastures is about, pasture raised and trying to take things back to how farming was done for a very, very long time. And most of your local farmers do not farm in a way that is destructive. It's when they start selling everything off to the big producers who then go to the final meat processing. Is that my area? I'm surrounded by cattle farmers, and I know a lot of these guys. And what they do is, and some of them are certified organic, some of them aren't. And the biggest thing they had about certified organic was mostly about how many cows per acre they had. And so it wasn't always about even pasture raised. It just they had to spend 51% of their time in the pasture, and then it was and if you had a certain amount of cows per acre. Where we've looked at, and I've looked at in with white oak pastures, is that they are 100% pasture raised. They don't have a barn where these are done. But a lot of the farmers around us, they raise their cows now up to about 16 months, 12 months to 14 months to 60 months, depending on who the farmer is. It will be raised. It's out in the field. It's got grass. They cut literally 200 yards from my house almost. They have a field that gets cut and baled up, and it's for cows. They're eating grass, but then they get sold off to these big feedlots that come in, and they feed them just grains and corn syrup to fatten them up, and they finish them with that way, and they're finished out to fatten up as quickly as possible. And that's where you can have some really destructive things get into the diets. I know people heard about the bird flu, being in cows, and bird flu being infecting some milk and stuff. How they think that some of that bird flu got into the milk was that the cows were fed grains from where a combine went through the field, sucked up some birds into the combine, went into the grains, and then were fed to the cows. And so the cows got the bird flu. That's how they think it happened. You don't have that when you have cows that are 100% grass-fed, grass-finished. That's my biggest thing. I don't care if you get it from white oak pastures. There's a lot of different places I would say, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say some of the places. You can Google it. People can Google it. There's a lot of places. White oak pastures is better if you're in the Southeast, because that's local for where they're going to ship. They ship it. It's frozen. It's flash frozen there. They have their own processing facility. They don't send it out to some other processor where it's getting mixed with other meats and meat from other places. It's going to be coming from them. And that's great that you guys didn't treat your alfalfa with pesticides or chemicals. I can tell you, I've been places where that hasn't happened, where I've watched it happen, where and so where you have that there are places where I've watched them go through a field and I can smell the glyphosate. I know what it smells like, that you can smell them blanket spraying this stuff. I had a teacher in high school who was part of the engineering team that was trying to create Roundup resistant wheat. And when I was landscaping, we would go to the ag stores, and they would have 2 bags of seed. They had their wheat, and then they had Roundup resistant wheat right next to it. And it was a little bit more expensive, but that's what it was meant for. And so that's where I'm coming with a lot of that stuff, is not just from, and coming from some of this information is just not like I've seen some of this stuff, and I've experienced it as well. And where they found that there are traces of Roundup in blood samples of almost every American, because it's in our cereals, it's in our grains, it's in our corn. A lot of stuff is treated with that. And I'm not, I don't want it to come across like I'm attacking farmers, because I think farmers are the heart of America. And I think the farmers do so many amazing things, and ranchers, they're feed America. And so, and they do a lot of amazing things. It's just becoming harder with the way that big food companies have been kind of swallowing up so much of the markets that you can't be certain what you're getting. You can't be certain where stuff is coming from. It's harder to find single sources. It's harder to find raw foods. It's harder to find things that haven't been processed, or, one farmer may not be using Roundup resistant wheat, but another one is, and they're selling to the same co-op. So you don't know if the stuff that you're getting has been through that. It may be the same thing with the meat processor. One farmer may have not done it, but another one may have, and they end up at the same processor. And so some of the meat may be, some of the meat may not be. You don't know. That's one of the problems that we have as well. So anyways, all that to say, they let me on a rabbit trail there of about 15 minutes. So I do apologize for that at the end of the show. But like Adam said, we only push things that we believe in, we truly believe in,
Right.
and that we do. We've turned down some sponsorships of things, of places that we just don't believe in.
Yep, 100%. So appreciate Johnny and his research. I know you guys do too. Appreciate the work on the channel, obviously. Johnny, throw the email in, since I am not able to, for the same one that's in our description, because for the people it's for the people, get it? He wanted to make sure that he no, Boats, you're good, dude. No need to apologize.
No need
Um
to apologize.
so yeah, the email is, well, and There it is. Yeah. jonnydelsfootballacademy at gmail.com. It's in the description of this,
It is.
of the YouTube channel. So if you are in Nashville next month, going to the preseason game, or if you are going to week 1, um, yes, integrity for duty and humanity. That's an old Three Stooges for duty and humanity. um, yeah. So email us if you are going to go to the first preseason game or the first regular season game, because we definitely have to link and get some content in and get some interviews and hang out with all you fine folks. So, um, yes, raise the people for the win. Absolutely. Um, so, for a Johnny Dell, I am Adam Marino. Remember to check out the website as well, jfa49.com. In the meantime, thank you, will do. Yes, sir. So, in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, go Niners.